Good evening, folks. Triple Crown here, coming to you from Vancouver, British Columbia. End of round 5 summary. Lots happened this round. D-Day and carnage in Cairo and battle of attrition elsewhere. So America built 6 naval transports, 5 armor, and 12 infantry. Canada purchased 2 infantry and armor and a transport. They still left a small navy up here to worry about convoy disruptions. The entire American, Canadian, British, and Russian fleets are all amalgamated here off of Normandy, Bordeaux, and they have 20 units, including 2 aircraft here in Bordeaux. So that was significant, and the Germans only have 12 ground units, so they cannot take it back next turn. So that was significant in this round. A mistake the Canadians may have made is sending their 4 transports over here in Africa, bringing up one South African and liberating Liberia finally. So Canadians coming down to liberate the final territory here, which when they liberate the capital, only Finland, but they have to go to each territory one at a time to liberate. So they went from here, up here, over here, here, and back down. So a little bit of a process. Germany did not build anybody in Western Germany, and that could have been a mistake. Germany, and I said in a previous video, I've actually already rolled out Germany's, at least one of their next attacks, because it was a 1-2 punch. So Germany, going into round 6 actually, would have takes Cairo with 1 armor remaining and 2 veteran fighters. And the British are just they were not able to get all these units up in time because of this Japanese fleet off the coast. On the Eastern Front, things are looking better for the Russians, and that's because the Germans lost about, they had about 8 or 9 ground units down here, and currently up here, the Russians took back Leningrad. They made their major factory a minor in Karelia, and they currently are sitting, I've got all the numbers here, with about 40 units here in Moscow. And these 10 units can in Novgorod can make it back next turn, and they can build another 10. They were lend-leased 20 IPC or IPP successfully from the Americans, so their economy now is 66 IPP, and so they can have about 60 units their next turn. There's also a British tank that finally made its way up into Moscow, and the Germans, if they bring everything here, all their fast movers, they're only building fast movers now, which gets expensive, can only have about 60 units as well. So there is a battle of attrition happening here on the Eastern Front. So it all comes down to numbers, and if the numbers are even, there's now a fortification in Moscow. So Germany needs to come in with overwhelming odds, as you're going to see in the Battle of Cairo that happened. Italy had 20 units. They've lost their entire air force. And the Germans came in with 14 units, and they lost basically 5 aircraft and 8 other ground units. The British only lost 24. However, that is significant, because now do the Japanese say, ha 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 ha, and come over here and take a poke at this fleet, which will stop the British from reinforcing Cairo. They just might do it. Even though the numbers are even, they did not build an air base next turn, which would have been the key deciding factor. The British can only bring 1 unit from here without getting sneaky Carled up to take out this German tank, because they have a ferry swordfish and a fighter on this carrier and a coastal bombard of a battleship. So they should be able to take it back, But then the Italians up here, they built two armor, which are more expensive for them, 2 infantry and artillery. They do have 3 transports, but they might want to loan some of those, or at least 2 of those, to the Germans to bring down some more units down here into the Middle East area of Transjordan and Syria. So yeah, these units they've just been doing this slow march. The Japanese could even take a poke at South Africa. There's only 2 units, so the Japanese could make life a living heck for the British next turn. It's almost like a trifecta happening here, so it's a little bit positive. I did talk about the Americans, but the Anzac and the Dutch and the British, they built a pretty sizable fleet here, almost the same size as this one over here. And they're building more. This is actually an Anzac aircraft carrier. I just don't have it painted gray. So that's the limit for their escort carriers. They can have 2. So the Japanese over here in China are very easily overwhelming the Chinese and pushing them back 1 territory at a time. The Japanese currently have 4 infantry here in their air force. So are they going to take a poke at all these Chinese who are now protecting Sichuan? The CCP and Russians still have a lot of infantry here. So only a lone Japanese buffer of 1 infantry. They're just trying to stay away from the coast so they don't get wiped out by all these transports. Japan still is building about 6 3 destroyers, 3 submarines per turn. America did not build in the Pacific this turn. They did, however, fly their bomber over here to Tinda to try and make it back to Moscow. The British over here in India made their way all the way back in Uzbekistan. So they are maybe going to try and make it back to defend Leningrad, or maybe over here, or maybe up here. Maybe they're going to go help the Chinese out, which they could do. They could have gone into China next turn, but they have to save Moscow now. They have to make the Germans pay the price. For sending all these units down into Cairo and not defending here. That's why America has made the call to head into the Atlantic, reinforce this next turn. They still could spend money over here. They did annex Baja over here and Mexico on the other side. So that is the end of round 5, with the exception that Germany did do their first attack because I wanted to roll it out. And oh yes, Germany did build a navy up here, but there's a blocker and a scramble, and so they cannot touch this fleet next turn. However, they could, which, now does America want to bring these transports across and Canada? So that is something the Germans are going to have to contemplate. So that is the end of round 5. Thanks for watching, folks, and end of a long day. And sometimes in these games, the drama came out, and it's only round 5, so a lot of key events still to play out. But there's been some drama so far in round 5. So for me, I get more excited about this than I do about watching movies or TV, or just as excited about this as I do about cycling and other things. So thanks for watching, folks, and have a good night.